Hi everyone, and welcome to our Zero Emissions EV Show and Tell demo. I'm Jeri Shikuma, the Home and Community-Based Programs Administrator here at ACC. You know, the idea for this show started with our media mastermind, Ted Fong, who several months ago said, hey, I think we should do a show about EVs. It wasn't the kind of topic that we had done in the past, but the more we talked about it, we realized that there were a lot of staff and volunteers and board members that own various models of EVs. And so the idea of a show and tell demo started to take shape. And then, thanks to our community partners and some contacts, we were able to find some very special guests to also participate in today's show. All of a sudden, we had a very unique and fun program that I hope you'll enjoy today. It was a real team effort to get it all together. We were driven by our desire to help seniors have opportunities to learn about how technology can really help us all stay active and healthy and live independently. By helping us get around to do things more easily, do the things we want to do and need to do, EVs really can help us with our personal health. But they're also good for air quality and the health of the environment. And after these long, smoky summer days, I think we can all appreciate that. So I hope you like the show, and I hope you learned something. And now it's my pleasure to introduce ACC's chair of our board and the co-chair of our Lifelong Learning and Community Services Committee, Jean Chiamoto. Jean, organizing force behind a lot of what we do at ACC, especially our home and community-based programs. And I'm really appreciative of everything she does and all the time and energy she gives us. So help me welcome Jean, who is here to help us kick off our demo today. Jean?
Thank you. Thank you, Jeri. So welcome everybody to ACC's Show and Tell Zero Electric Vehicles. And so we're excited to have you here. Everybody's interested and wants to learn about climate change. ACC does too, as Jeri shared. And zero electric vehicles are a part of that help contribute to getting to better air quality and clean air. And so we have here with us today automotive reviewer Keith Turner, and he's going to take you on a tour of these electric vehicles we have here today. You're going to learn a lot. I'm going to learn a lot as we follow along. And if you have questions, send them on in, and Keith will answer them as we go along. And so there's no stupid question. You know, this is where we're all going to learn about electric vehicles, and hopefully you're going to go out and go buy one, okay? So I give you Keith Turner.
Thanks, Jean. Thank you very much. You know, my name's Keith Turner. I have been an automotive journalist for nearly 30 years now. Newspapers, magazines, websites. I currently am on Driving the Nation on YouTube and on the web. But I've seen so many changes over the past 30 years in automotive technology. There's exciting things that I've seen, you know, cup holders, high mileage cars, all kinds of things, but nothing has excited me nearly as much as what the change that I'm seeing now in the automotive world. We are transforming from internal combustion engines, those are the regular gas-burning cars that we have had all of our lives, into zero-emission vehicles. These are electric vehicles, electric-powered vehicles where you don't need to fill up with gas. And I'm a grandfather, and what I've really been concerned about lately is what world will my grandchildren be growing up in, and their children. And it's kind of scary. We've got climate change, we've got air pollution, we've got fires and all kinds of scary things. Plus you've got the high gas prices. I mean, anytime you look at a gas station prices, it seems like the price per gallon is going up. So really worrisome where we're going. But I'm glad to say that the state of California, as well as automakers in general, are coming on now. We're starting to move into zero emission vehicles. So we are not going to be polluting the environment. We're not going to be dependent on fossil fuels, oil and gas. And we're just going to hopefully make the world a better place for our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and the future. So that's what we're here today, is to talk about some of the electric vehicles that are on the market today that people are driving. We're going to talk to a representative from SMUD, the Sacramento Municipal Utility District, who could give us an overview on what electric vehicles are and how they work and what the financial incentives are for owning them. We're also going to talk to some EV owners, people who actually are living and driving their electric vehicles now and have been doing for some time. We're going to get their reaction to how it is to drive electric only, zero emission vehicles. We also have a special sneak preview, I should say, of a new hydrogen fuel cell vehicle, which is something that most people perhaps haven't heard about. Maybe we've heard about the electric vehicles. This is going to be hydrogen. So we're going to show that at the end of this show. Stay tuned. That's going to be very interesting. So without any further ado, without me talking more, I want to talk to the experts, because I'm just the reporter here, and introduce you to some of the realities of owning and driving electric vehicles. First off, we've got John from SMUD, Sacramento Municipal Utilities District. John, how are you?
Doing well. It's a mouthful, isn't it?
It is. That's why we call you SMUD, which is very endearing. But as people probably know, SMUD is the utility district for all of the greater Sacramento area, and very much environmentally conscious company, I've found, with solar and other sustainable.
Yeah. We're shooting for zero carbon by 2030.
Zero carbon. Wow, zero carbon emissions. That's great. So first of all, let's explain to people who may not be aware of what electric vehicles are. So we're not talking about hybrids or even plug-in hybrids, right?
Well, plug-in hybrids, yes, but a regular hybrid, something that's been around for quite a long time, it'll have a bank of batteries, small battery pack, and a very short range, but it doesn't plug in to recharge. It's the engine, the gasoline engine in the car recharges that battery, and the battery and the little electric motor helps when you're taking off from a stop, times when there's more emissions. So when we're talking about electric vehicle or an EV, we're really talking about what's called a plug-in electric vehicle. So this is something that plugs in from an external source, the wall socket in your garage, or a 220 volt charger that you plug in, recharge those batteries, and then that's what powers the vehicle, at least the electric portion of it. So within the EV umbrella, under the EV umbrella, you really have two different things. You have what's called battery electric vehicles, which is a bank of batteries and an electric motor, and that's what drives the car. There's no gas motor, and these have ranges anywhere on the low end from really 100 miles, but they're very common now, 200, 300, now even some at 400 miles of range, and all electric.
And range anxiety is a term we've heard a lot. It's like, how far can you go on your electric vehicle? And what you're saying now is the technology in the batteries is really advanced, so we're going to have a lot farther range.
Exactly, yeah, and the battery technology continues, but yeah, and there's a lot more public charging available too. But another thing that addresses that range anxiety, that concern, am I going to make it to where I'm going on a battery, is what's called a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle that you referenced. Now that still has a bank of batteries that you plug in to charge. So that's different than a standard hybrid. Plugs in, charges the batteries, and you'll have a limited range on that, usually more or less on the lower end from around 20 up to 50. And I think there's one that's quite a bit even higher than that, all electric range. So that's enough for most of us to do all of our daily driving. Most of us only drive 30, 35 miles a day. So that electric range is covered. But then, when that battery is depleted, when it needs to be recharged, but when you're driving along, that gas engine kicks in. You could drive from here to New York, just like any other vehicle. You'd stop for gas and fill up. So those are the two ranges: battery electric, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles.
Right. And so what we're here talking about today is the fully electric, the battery electric, EVs we're calling them.
That's what we have here today. That's right.
Definitely. So there's different ways of charging, as you said. Now, I also understand there's incentives, financial incentives that are offered both perhaps from the state or from the federal government. What are those?
Sure. The government is really trying to encourage adoption of electric vehicles. So there are a lot of them, really, but I want to talk about three of the main ones. The big one is the federal tax credit. Most vehicle makes are eligible for up to $7,500. It depends on the battery size. There's a little bit of a range, but up to $7,500 that you get on when you do your taxes at the end of the year. The second one is what's called the California Clean Vehicle Rebate Project, which is up to $2,000 on most vehicles. It can be a little less, again, depending on the battery size of the vehicle. And that's something you apply for, and they send you a check in the mail. And then something that's relatively new, been around for a little less than a year now, is what's called the California Clean Fuel Reward. And that is, you just go to Google Clean Fuel Reward, and it'll take you to the site. And that's up to $1,500. It's an instant rebate right at the dealership, comes right off the price of the car. So it's super convenient, easy to take advantage of. And I just want to mention real quick too, SMUD's EV rate credit. So this is a discount that you get. So if you're an EV driver for residential customers, you can call us up or go online to My Account and smud.org/myaccount, and you can sign up there, and you get a 1.5 cent per kilowatt hour discount for all the electricity used in your house, not just on your EV, between midnight and 6 a.m. And that's to encourage folks to charge, in off-peak when power is less expensive.
So if you're charging from home, you're using a regular home outlet that'll charge your vehicle like you would perhaps your cell phone overnight.
That's a great analogy right there. Yes, most charging, like 80 to 85% of EV charging takes place in people's homes. Super convenient. The typical scenario is you drive home, from work or running your errands. You plug in. You wake up every morning with a full tank. We like to say your garage is your gas station. And there are various power levels of chargers that'll charge your car more quickly and or less, and depending on the vehicle that you have.
So that's when you go out on the road and perhaps you want to take a longer drive, but you maybe would plan to charge it at a faster charging station in a parking lot or somewhere.
That's right. There's a lot of public charging out there, more and more coming all the time. They're building more and more what we refer to as infrastructure, EV infrastructure, which is really referring to charging. So there's a lot of these fast chargers that are high powered. They'll charge your car up to 80% in as little as 20 minutes, depending again on the car and how much charge you need. There's lots of that out there. They're in very convenient places. They're at, sometimes you'll see them in movie theater, parking lots, the mall,
Sure.
grocery stores, that kind of place.
Sure, there's a lot more of those showing up,
Yep.
And that's really helpful for people who are doing longer distance driving.
It is, yeah. And if you get caught, you think, oh, wow, there's some more errands that I wasn't thinking of. But with, over 200 miles of range, you can charge at home, and it's going to cover the vast majority of what most of us do. If you drive to the Bay Area from Sacramento a lot, you may have to charge, once on that round trip, that kind of thing.
Sure, and you just plan your trip a little bit more because there aren't chargers on every corner like there might be a gas station.
Right, but there's great phone apps that you can download. They're free. They'll tell you where all the charging is. They even tell you how much it costs, if the chargers in use are available. So pretty convenient to use public charging too.
So there's a lot of financial incentives for buying an EV, electric vehicle, but there's also financial benefits from driving it. And the obvious one is you don't have to pay for a gallon of gas. You don't have to pay for gas.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's a huge benefit. It really is. The operational cost, which is not something we might think about too much with a conventional gas engine car. But at SMUD's discounted rate, for instance, you charge between midnight and 6. It's the equivalent of paying less than $1 a gallon of gas. That's a big, yeah, it is. And that's a big deal, right? It really, not only you have the convenience of charging in your garage, but it's a lot less expensive. Everybody knows gas is well over $4 a gallon right now, but there's other benefits too. In a all battery vehicle, there's no oil, so there's no oil changes. The brakes last a lot longer because all EVs have this thing called regenerative braking. But essentially, you take your foot off the accelerator and your engine generates electricity back into your battery and slows the car down. So you have a lot less wear and tear on your brakes. There's no radiator. There's just a lot fewer moving parts in an EV, way fewer moving parts. There's no, lot less heat generated, so the parts last longer. There's a lot less friction, all those things. So the overall cost of maintaining and owning a vehicle, an electric vehicle, is way lower. The only real regular maintenance is just rotation of tires.
Wow, wow. So, and that's something we forget about is the oil changes and the brakes, you know, and all the other maintenance charges that you would face with the regular internal combustion engine.
Exactly.
You don't have those with EVs.
That's right.
And they're fun to drive, which is we're going to get to next.
They are fun. The performance is one of the big things. You put your foot on the gas, or on the accelerator, I should say.
Yeah, not the
and
gas.
They just take off. Yeah, not the gas. Exactly.
I do that all the time too. It's the accelerator pedal, not the gas pedal.
Sure.
And you get to zip on by all those gas stations with those high prices.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Well, we're going to talk to some EV owners and find out their experiences of driving and owning an electric vehicle. Thank you very much, John.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Now, one of the first major electric models on the market was Tesla. Tesla has been building electric vehicles for quite some time, and now it's becoming a lot more mainstream. You see a lot more Teslas out there, and they're striking in their design and the fact that they're electric vehicles. So we have an owner right here, Dave Lin. Welcome, Dave. Welcome, welcome. Now you own this beautiful car, is that correct?
I do.
Wow. So what is this car?
So this is a Tesla Model 3. It's the long range model.
Long range. So there are different models with different range.
That's right.
How many miles do you get on a charge with this?
So this one, the maximum range is about 350.
350 miles.
Yes.
That's huge.
Yes.
That's come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your experiences? First of all, what do you like about the vehicle?
Well, I'm a self-described tech nerd, so I love the technology with this car. I also love the speed. I like the handling. Love the way it looks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. Can you show me the inside a little bit? Let's open it up. 'Cause
Sure.
That is the most striking part.
Sure.
Oh, you're using your phone.
I am using my phone. There's an app on my phone. So with this, I can, for example, open the front trunk.
The front trunk.
And you call it a frunk?
The frunk?
Yes.
Well, since you did that, why don't we take a look at the frunk?
So I have a little suitcase in here, a cooler.
That's a cooler.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing else in here. There's no engine. There's no batteries. There's no wires or anything.
That's right. The motors are between the axles. There's 2 motors, and then there's a battery pack in the middle.
Wow. How interesting is that? So you've got a frunk. You've got storage space in the front.
Right. It's a good place to keep food that you don't want to smell up the interior of your car, etc.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So let's take a look at the inside, because that is a pretty stunning difference between today's vehicles and electric vehicles. Oh, very nice.
So, you notice everything in here is pretty much controlled by this screen.
There's no gauges, no speedometers or anything in front of you.
There's not even controls for your vents.
Wow.
You have to do everything through here. But there's a learning curve, but once you learn how to do it, it's pretty intuitive and it's pretty simple.
Wow. So everything, so you have pedals, you have that acceleration pedal, but everything you want to do, like inside the car, is all done on that big touch screen.
That's right. You even have to adjust your mirrors with these little things here. But like I say, once you know how to do everything, it's pretty straightforward, and it's a very clean interior, which I really enjoy.
That's sort of what drew you to it. You say you're a tech guy, so I imagine this is a pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I have fun with this every day.
And how is it that, so you've been driving it now for a while, I assume.
Yes.
What is your experience with it? Have you had problems? Do you have any range anxiety, anything like that?
I have no range anxiety. It's awesome, like you were saying, just not having to go to the gas station. I love waking up in the morning, having the car charged. I love the way it drives. It is so fast. And I actually cross-shopped this car with regular cars. Mm-hmm. And I got to the point where I realized I would be making very few compromises to get this car.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Now, there's 2 questions that everybody asks me when we start talking about Teslas. One is, does it have self-driving capabilities? We've heard about this Tesla self-driving car. Does this one have that?
So I did not buy the self-driving package, which is an extra $10,000. And I honestly didn't have a ton of confidence in it yet, and I like driving myself. So what this car has is Autopilot, which is really a fancy cruise control.
Okay.
Yeah. So and it's been good.
So it keeps you safe. It keeps you like in the lane. And
Yes, it has all the safety features. Automatically speeds up, slows down, stays in the lane. That kind of.
But
thing.
you can't just like take a nap. You don't want.
No, you absolutely do not want to do that or sit in the back seat.
No.
Nothing like that.
Nothing like that. And then now the other question that people ask me when we start talking about Teslas is the price. We've always known Teslas at the high end. It's over $100,000. I can never afford that. Wouldn't want to spend the money. That's not what you experienced. Then.
Right. So they have several models. This model is actually the second. I believe it's the second least expensive. There's one under this which starts at in the low 40s. This car right here is about $50,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you've got all those incentives that John was telling us about.
You have all those incentives, and yeah, if you have good credit, you can get good financing too.
So, in your opinion, electric vehicles, you're sold?
I am totally sold. I think as a technology for transportation, it's hard to beat. It really is.
That's fantastic. And they look cool and they're fun to drive.
They look cool and they're fun to drive. Absolutely.
Can't beat that. Well, thank you very much. This
Yeah,
is
you're welcome.
great. Enjoy your Model 3 Tesla. How
I
wonderful.
will.
Excellent, excellent. So while Tesla has been sort of at the forefront over the years of developing the first electric vehicle, it's not the first, but certainly one of the better known electric vehicles, many other manufacturers are coming on and, like I said before, developing and selling electric vehicles. So General Motors has been ahead of the game as well, and they now have put out, I guess this is probably the second generation Bolt EV, but more of a it doesn't quite have that flash and sizzle that the look of the Tesla has, but the Bolt EV is more of a standard looking car. And we have an owner here. We have Jeri, and she's an owner of a Bolt EV, correct?
Yes.
And so how long have you owned this electric vehicle?
For a couple years now, but prior to that, we had actually leased a couple EVs. We were sort of early adopters, and my husband actually originally really wanted a Tesla, but back then they were so hard to get. I don't know if you remember, but you had to put your name on a wait list to get it. So we had our name on a list, and in the meantime, we decided to lease because the technology was just changing so fast. So we thought we would lease, and then by the time our name got to the top of the list and we could purchase a Tesla, we decided we actually really liked the Bolt that we had, and so we decided to just stay with the Bolt, and we ended up buying a Bolt.
So again, it's all electric. There's no gas involved. How far can you drive comfortably on your electric charge?
So the range on this car is 250 miles.
250,
so,
that's a lot.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. So for everyday normal driving, it's never an issue. And then when we want to go for longer trips, like we've driven, to Reno or down to Santa Cruz or places like that, it's usually no problem because it's enough range to get there. And then when we're there, there's lots of, as Dave talked about, and I think John mentioned, there's lots of charging stations. There's apps on the phone that make it easy. You can stop in and go to the grocery store or something, do an errand like that and just charge the car while you're doing that.
But otherwise, on a normal daily basis, you're just charging overnight when you need to.
Yes.
How often do you need to charge it then?
Now that we're just driving, my husband works from home now because of the pandemic, and I don't commute very far from home to here. So maybe we charge maybe once a week. And when we initially got our electric cars, we were able to get one of those faster chargers from SMUD for free, actually.
Wow.
So we have that installed in our house. And so we just have an app, so we plug it in, and then it charges overnight during the low rate time.
Perfect.
So it's easy.
You're spending very little to charge it, and it's always available for you up to 250 miles?
250, yeah.
Now, one thing I have to ask you, we talked about the frunk of the Tesla.
Yes.
Do you have a frunk?
I don't have a frunk. I wish I had a frunk. But,
what do you have in the hood?
I'll show you. Let's see.
Excellent. Let's see here. I think you know how to open this probably.
Yeah, so.
Ah,
Aha.
so there's actually
So
stuff.
there is stuff in here.
It's
It's the battery is in here. These coolant things are just to cool the battery and the compartment. So, and then, you know, windshield wiper fluid there. But it's mainly just the battery.
It's basically a computer and a battery,
Right.
and lots of wires, but I don't see any oil.
There's no, right, there's no oil. Yeah, the maintenance is very easy. You know, we just basically, you know, we check the tires, but no oil changes. Yeah.
That is a huge
pretty
benefit.
simple. Pretty simple to maintain.
Now, can we take a look inside and just see if how that looks?
Oh, I
compared?
just also wanted to point out, since we're passing by it,
Oh,
see that
exactly.
purple sticker there? That sticker, so that allows you, if you have an EV, you can drive in the carpool lane, even if you have just one person.
Wow.
So sometimes that's nice during rush hour.
What a benefit,
Anyway.
especially when the roads get crowded around rush hour. You're flying through the carpool
Yeah,
lane.
that makes it kind of
That
nice.
is a benefit for EV owners, huh? So, okay, so inside the vehicle,
Yes.
it looks like almost a traditional type of
It does.
layout.
It looks pretty normal, right? So the one thing, that's something that I actually kind of like about it, in that it's oh, I think you know what it's thinking, because
We'll have that closed there.
just telling me that the trunk is open.
The hood is open now,
The hood
it's
is
not.
open.
Yeah.
But it you know, it's very easy to transition from like a standard car to a car like this, because it feels pretty much like just a regular car. It has this screen here, and you can plug your phone in, and so you can get directions and things like that. You can see, you know, how much charge is left on your battery
You're
when
about
you get
halfway.
started.
You've got 129 miles, it says. Is
Right.
that pretty accurate, do you find?
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. And you can see, if you do a lot of like in-town driving where there's lots of stop and go, then often, you know, your charge will increase a little because of that regeneration.
So the brakes are regenerating, and that's something that John mentioned as well. So does that take a little getting used to? When you take your foot off the accelerator, it starts to brake or feels like it's braking. Is that true? Is that how you experience it?
Yeah, I don't really notice it very much.
Okay.
Like, it's very smooth, and yeah, I don't notice it too much.
Wow.
And the other things you see, you won't see it now because I'm not driving, but when you're driving, then a lot of the safety features will come up. Like, if I'm driving and I want to change lanes, but there's a car like in my blind spot, you know, I'll get a light over there so I can see. If I'm backing up, I can see if there's something behind me that I don't notice. There'll be you know, it'll come up and there'll be like a sound so that I know that I should stop. Or if I'm not slowing down quickly enough and there's a car in front of me or an object in front of me, then there'll also be a notice there. So there's lots of different safety kinds of things that I think are
Keep you safe.
yeah, are useful.
Definitely. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it looks like a pretty standard car.
It does.
But it's very quiet. It's running right now. We don't hear any engine noise.
Yeah, it's really quiet, but that's something you got to get used to. Just, you know, if you have little kids or pets or something, that you're very quiet. So when you're coming up to them, you have to make sure they know that you're coming.
Right. So and I think you get used to having it be nice and quiet as you're driving. You don't even know necessarily when you turn it on. Now, is there anything you don't like about driving an electric vehicle? That's a surprise question.
That's a surprise question. Not really. You know, I think at the very beginning, the first EV we leased, the range was really small. It was only like 70 miles. And so then it was, you know, I think I felt a little bit more stressed. But now, with the range being what it is, I don't really worry about it. And I've never had a problem. So no,
Excellent.
I really like it. I'm not a tech nerd, as Dave says, so I don't know a lot of the technical ins and outs, but I can just tell you, just from driving it, it's really fun and easy. And so, yeah, I don't have no complaints.
You're a happy Bolt owner.
Yes, I am.
Well, thank you very much, Jeri. I appreciate it. Enjoy your Bolt.
Okay, thank you.
So General Motors, again, is ahead of the game, but many other, as a matter of fact, most automotive manufacturers are now producing electric vehicles, and we're going to see more and more coming out in the next few years. So this is another one. Nissan has also been an early adopter of electric vehicles. And we have Titus here, who is an owner of a Nissan Leaf. And this is, I believe, the second generation Leaf?
Second generation 2018 Nissan Leaf.
Now, it's a different looking vehicle as well. It's got a unique style.
Yeah.
How are you enjoying?
Well, we
driving
absolutely
Leaf?
love this car. It's, as you've heard before, it's extremely easy to drive. We happen to like the styling for the Nissan Leaf, the interior color, and all the features that came with it. And by the way, I'm the finance chair of the ACC board. So for me, the financing part of this Leaf was a big deal.
The money.
The money part, because this car qualified for the federal tax credit, the state tax credit, and the free charger from SMUD. And so out the door, this car cost me about $30,000. So I got maybe almost $10,000 in financial incentives.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
so
that is a fairly inexpensive new car.
Yeah, and also Nissan was promoting this particular model, so we got a good deal on this car.
One thing that's different we notice is, where do you charge this vehicle? How do you
We
charge it?
charge this car at our home. In fact, in the last year, maybe half dozen times we've had to use a public charging station.
No.
We got a level 2 charger from SMUD that we installed at our home. And so for the most part, it's just charging at home, much like a cell phone. And given the fact that we're seniors and don't do a whole lot of driving, we charge maybe once or twice a week. This car gets about 160 miles to a charge, which is fine for us because, you know, we're going to the store. I come to ACC for meetings, things like that. So for the most part, the car has been very nicely adapted to our own lifestyle.
And as I understand, then the charging port is up front here somewhere?
The charging port's right there. There is one piece of technology. I can open it with my key. See, and there it is. And so this is the charging port for our level 2 charger. If we ever need to use the supercharger, it has one of those as well. But in the last couple of years, we've never had to use that.
And that's what you'd go to another location?
Yeah, we can go to one at SMUD or someplace else.
But you really haven't?
No, we haven't used it because we charge at home.
You charge at home? And
Charge
that's
at
what
home.
you use this
That's
one
what this is for, yeah.
Now, there's a cord as well, and I know you have the cord in the back.
Yeah.
If we could take a look at the rear of the car.
Okay.
For the moment.
So
this I just want to show people that.
Yeah, this is the trunk for the Leaf, very similar to what you have in the Bolt. But the car comes with a charger, and so this is the charger. One part goes into the actual charging point that you saw in front of the car, and then this goes into your home electric outlet. Now, Nissan gives you one that this is pretty much a 110, so you can take this charger to any standard electric outlet and get some charge. It's not very much, but they call it trickle charge, but it's there just in case of emergency. And this is also can be used, for example, if you wanted to use your mother-in-law's dryer, which is what we did in Stockton, to charge the car when we're down there. So, but again, we don't use this very much because we go home, the cord is already attached to the garage, drive it to the driveway, plug it in, and like Jeri said, we do the charging from midnight until 6 o'clock in the morning. It's set up on an automatic charger. And so that pretty much takes care of our charging when we need to charge the car.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And so the financial benefits, being the financial guy, it made sense to buy it. How about to operate it over a long term?
Well, much like you've heard from other folks, there's virtually no maintenance except for rotating the tires. I asked the guy, well, do you do a battery check? He says, yeah, it's just like plugging in a sensor and the battery's fine. There's no oil change, no radiator to maintain. And so the maintenance makes it a lot easier, especially for seniors who may have anxiety about going to a place to get their car serviced. It's really easy to do.
Wow.
One thing that we liked about this car as well is that, you know, it has a lot of technology, but it's also easy to drive and not that different from cars that we've owned in the past. I mean, it has a regular kind of speedometer.
Can we take a look?
Sure, let's take a look inside the car.
Now this looks like just a normal car.
It's a normal car. It has a regular speedometer. Unlike Dave's car, which looks like the inside of a space capsule, it has a lot of buttons. It has switches that are very familiar to those of us who've been driving for 30, 40 years. It has the speedometer. It also tells me how much mileage I have left in terms of the charge. A couple other buttons that you have to get used to. But in terms of transitioning from a regular car to an electric car like this, it was pretty seamless.
Very good.
It has my cup holder for my coffee. It has different ways in which you can get economy mode, which activates the regenerative thing. When I turn that off, and this thing just blasts off at the stop sign because it has such great acceleration.
Really quick.
Really quick. Probably not as quick as some of the Teslas, but compared to my Toyota Corolla, it's pretty fast.
Wow. So it's fun to drive now.
It's really a lot of fun to drive.
So you've got like no maintenance.
No maintenance.
Very low cost just operating it.
Yeah, I pay maybe $15 a month for electricity for our driving habits.
Wow, $15 won't even get you probably a quarter tank of gas these days. Wow, that's great. Anything that you don't like or you would like to see improved?
Well, I think when we get around to our new EV a couple of years, we'll look for a car with more range. This car has a lot of really good safety features. The adaptive cruise control, all the warnings for changing lanes. It even has a camera in front as well as back. So it makes it very safe to drive, has airbags and everything else that you see in most modern cars. So again, from a senior's perspective, there's some reassurance that it has a lot more safety features that help us drive safely. Yeah. The only, I kind of joke, but the only disadvantage for an electric car is that your windshield gets dirty because you never had a gas station to wash the windshield.
You actually have to think about washing your own windshield.
You have to think about that, yeah.
But
otherwise, they're fun to drive, very quiet, and it's just amazing how quiet these cars are compared to other cars.
Quiet and fast. That is a big benefit.
Yeah.
You also have the regenerative braking, is that correct?
Regenerative braking, compared to the first EVs, it's not very, you can hardly notice it.
Really?
I can see it. I can see it on the dash that it's working, but in terms of affecting the performance in driving, it's not as dramatic a change as the first electric vehicles.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Wow. So you're enjoying it. And do you miss going to the gas station?
Well, when I want to get some junk food.
But
I don't miss seeing those long lines of gas at Costco. I just drive right by it. So, and that's one big benefit of the electric car. Also, seniors are concerned about the environment.
Yeah.
And so, when I realized that this car doesn't produce any carbons, that here in SMUD, most of SMUD's electricity comes from non-gas house emitting sources, I feel that I'm doing our part, and the seniors can still do their part to help solve the climate crisis and set an example to our peers and our children that we can
children, grandchildren, the future generation.
Yeah, my kids were very proud of the fact that their parents bought an electric car.
Oh man, it's hard to get them proud of anything.
Yeah, I know.
Days, so that's
they want to drive it. They want to drive the car too, but they're happy that we're doing our part to show that we care about.
Thank you very much, Titus. That is wonderful. I love this car.
Yeah,
this is so much fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Take care.
Okay.
All right. So, as you can see, we've got Nissan. And we've got GM, General Motors, we've got Tesla. Now, we've got many other vehicles that are coming on the market. They keep upgrading, they keep adding new vehicles. And right now, we've got a Kia Niro electric vehicle. This is one that I've been driving for the last few days. And this is the first take was that it's beautiful. My wife calls it cute because it's just so smooth and stylish. You don't have that front radiator look like you would in a normal gas-powered car. So the Kia Niro, in fact, has a plug-in right in front. I don't have the key with me, so that is where the plug goes. You plug it in at night at home. I plugged it in last night. Brought me to a full charge of about 238 miles, which is plenty for anything I'm going to need to do. But the most exciting thing I found about this vehicle is that quiet pickup, that quick get up and go. You really feel like you have control over where you want to be when you're driving this or any electric vehicle because it's so fast and so quiet. And then the other thing that I noticed was the regenerative braking. In this vehicle, especially coming from a gasoline-powered car to an electric vehicle, it's almost a one-pedal drive. You press the accelerator. I'm going to go ahead and get in because I could talk about it more here. You press the accelerator, and then when you are coming to a stop sign or traffic stopped ahead, you let off of that accelerator, and it immediately slows the car down like I'm pressing the brakes. And that is it takes a little getting used to coming from a regular gas-powered car that might, slowly cruise down, coast to stop. This slows you down dramatically. But once I got used to it over a day or two, I can time it. Okay, there's a stop sign coming, let my foot off that accelerator, and it slows me down to near stop. While it's slowing down, it's regenerating the battery. So I'm getting more mileage into that battery by just taking my foot off the brake. And that's what John was saying from SMUD. You have less wear and tear on the brakes because you're not using them that much. You're only using them in the very end when you come to a complete stop. Otherwise, the car is braking for you. Otherwise, it's a fairly traditional look. It has a rounded gear shift, you would call it, but really all you need is neutral, forward, and reverse. That's all there's needed. There's no gears. It's very quiet, and it's very quick. So again, charging up is easy. You've got lots of range, and it's fast and quiet. And I love it. I love it. I'm thinking this might be my next car, although, like I say, there's lots of electric vehicles coming out these days. So you always want to know what you're getting and what you need in an electric vehicle. And that is what you're looking for. I love this vehicle, and it's a lot of fun to drive, and I'll never have to buy gas again if I take this car. That's excellent. So it's a lot of fun, and we're going to take a look at other vehicles. What's next? We have a hydrogen vehicle that is coming on line now. Hydrogen is also known as a hydrogen fuel cell. What that is, it sounds scary, but in fact, hydrogen fuel cell is in fact an electric vehicle that instead of being plugged in, it's actually fueled by hydrogen that then is transferred into electricity. And we have a special guest, David Kim, here, who's now pulling up. Here he comes with this Hyundai hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. And he can tell us about what that technology is about. David, welcome.
How you doing, Keith?
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. This is, first of all, just a beautiful color, I should say. And that's what we always look at first, right, is the color and the styling. But I didn't hear any noise as you were pulling up. This is, in fact, a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. Can you tell me a little bit about what that means?
It is, and a lot of people don't realize that hydrogen fuel cell is an electric vehicle. What you've showcased so far are battery electrics. This is hydrogen. When hydrogen and water combine, it produces electricity.
Wow. And
so it's not as common as battery electric, and in fact, for infrastructure purposes, you can only drive a fuel cell in the state of California. California is the only place with hydrogen refueling stations.
Is that right?
And
wow.
so if you leave California, go to Nevada or Oregon, you might get stranded.
You don't have a place to refuel.
Right.
So in fact, this isn't something that you refuel at home. You would go to a station.
That's right. That's right.
And how, so first of all, do you know how many stations there might be around California?
There are roughly 50 hydrogen stations throughout California.
So it's an evolving infrastructure.
Yes, yes, and we still have a long way to go. Right. But there are enough stations where you can drive from northern to southern California, as I've done on many occasions.
Is that right? In this vehicle?
In this vehicle.
So, and how long does it take to refuel?
That's one of the benefits of hydrogen fuel cell. 5 to 10 minutes, just like putting gas in a car.
Wow.
So that's one of the advantages over battery electric. Battery electrics, as you know, sometimes take hours overnight. This is like putting gas in a car. And so it's very fast, and it's pretty simple too.
And are there any other differences? So basically, other than the hydrogen that you're refueling it with, is there any other difference between driving one of these and driving an electric vehicle? Do you notice any difference?
All of them are quiet, as you've noticed and commented on, and they are easy to drive. Incredible acceleration in this car. I can't really compare it with other models, other EV models, because I haven't driven a lot of them. But great acceleration. It handles well. It's very smooth. Absolute joy to drive.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And I should mention the name of the model that's
Yeah,
hydrogen.
this is the Hyundai Nexo.
Nexo.
N-E-X-O.
Okay.
And you mentioned about the color. This is copper, but some people think it's pink. I don't know if it's, some people, I don't know where I see the pink, but people have described it as a pink car.
If they want a pink car, then they get.
Yeah.
It's quite beautiful. So, but otherwise, I mean, this looks like a traditional vehicle. Gas-powered vehicle.
This is I think it's a crossover body or a small SUV, maybe a little larger than the Kia Niro, but I've driven passengers who sit in the back seat, and they say it's super comfortable back there. There's a lot of room.
Wow.
And,
I wonder if we could take a look under the hood, if that's possible.
Sure.
Since we've been peeking under the hood with most of these vehicles, just to see what we're dealing with. I love these handles that pop out here too. That is a very interesting look.
Yeah, they're very similar to Tesla.
To the Tesla, yeah. Whoa. So again, this isn't pistons and oil and all that. This is one big engine.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but there are hydrogen tanks in the back.
Okay.
And so this is primarily things like fluids and windshield wiper fluid, things of that nature. But just like the other vehicles, this is practically maintenance free.
Wow.
No oil change, of course, just tires. You bring it in once a year so they can inspect the hydrogen fuel tanks and do other things. But it's a breeze from a maintenance standpoint. There's really nothing to do.
And no maintenance, very quiet, no gas needed.
Right.
And so interior-wise, can we take a look at that and just see if there's a how that looks inside? Why don't you go ahead and sit in there?
Sure.
Wow. Wow, now it looks, I'm looking at maybe a 747 type of instrument panel, but that's really probably looks more complicated than it really is.
Well, I love this. It's the center console, and you're right. It looks like the inside of a cockpit of an airplane.
Sure.
But it's pretty simple. All the usual controls are right here, and of course, there's a great GPS system and infotainment and
it's all one big screen across there. Isn't it?
Wow.
So there's, I imagine also like in the electric vehicles, it's going to tell you how much range you have, how much battery life you have left. That's very interesting. So, and have you had any issues with it? Any things that you don't care about?
Well, here's one of the great things about fuel cell. Great range. This vehicle has a range of 380 miles.
Wow.
And so you can get around, you can travel long distances before having to refuel again. And as I mentioned, you can go from northern Cal to southern Cal. You can make it. There is a station in Coalinga in the Central Valley, and so that's helpful to get from northern to southern. So yeah, it works great.
Wow, so that's a long range. Wow. And now we haven't heard too much about hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. Why do you think that is? Just the lack of infrastructure, lack of education?
All of the above. Infrastructure is a work in progress. There are many more battery electric vehicle charging points in California compared to hydrogen fuel cell. There is an educational component as well. And the fact that you can, as a practical matter, you can only drive or operate a fuel cell in California. You really can't do it outside of California.
Sorry
So-
to the people who aren't in California.
Right, but there is an effort to build a Boston to DC hydrogen corridor along Interstate 95. So that's obviously that's a few years away, if not more. So it's pretty much a California-based technology in terms of use.
As usual, California is leading the way in zero-emission transportation. I like to talk about that. That's always fun. But it is the future of transportation.
Absolutely, and I think hydrogen is a viable option every much as battery electric. And also, when it comes to medium and heavy-duty vehicles, think commercial trucks, transit buses, hydrogen application is right up there, and a lot of agencies and truckers are moving to hydrogen fuel cell trucks and buses.
Yeah, so it does work for heavy hauling trucks and
Yes,
buses.
including hydrogen trains too.
Oh,
Yeah, not high speed, but like freight trains and lower speed passenger trains. That's being deployed now as well.
because we don't really think of that when we think about pollution, air pollution and climate change, but there's a lot of trucks on the road, a lot of trains, and if we can clean those up,
Right.
we are taking a big step towards cleaning up our environment.
Correct.
Fantastic,
Correct.
fantastic. Well, thank you very much for showing us this hydrogen
Yeah, my
fuel
pleasure.
cell, which is a new technology that clearly is. Now, so do you foresee, one last question, and
Yeah.
this is just your own opinion, but maybe a smorgasbord of options? We can do battery electric, we could do a hydrogen fuel cell, perhaps some other technologies that maybe we haven't even heard of.
I think so. I think the sky's the limit, and clearly this is being deployed here, but also fuel cell vehicles are much more popular in other parts of the world.
Are they?
Asia, Europe, and I think that's going to catch on eventually here as well.
I would hope so.
Because lots of advantages, lots of upsides with fuel cell in terms of range and ease of refueling and things of that nature. So I think this will continue to be viable, and I think people are going to latch onto it.
Fantastic. Yeah, well, it's a new world, as I was
It
saying,
is,
right?
yeah.
We're in a new world of transportation, personal transportation, commercial transportation, where we're talking about the cars and the train, or the trucks and the trains.
Yeah.
But like I said, this is a very exciting time in the automotive industry, and something that is going to make a difference for the future, for our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, the future generations. That's why we're taking time, and I appreciate ACC Senior Services for doing this workshop and taking the time to learn about the differences, because it is quite confusing, of course. I appreciate the time you're taking here and to introduce us to this new technology that's really brand new to me as well.
Keith, can I add one more point?
Absolutely.
We forgot to mention it. Zero cost for refueling. When you lease a hydrogen fuel cell, Hyundai and other manufacturers give you a prepaid debit card.
Wow.
So I pay zero to refuel. It's free
Wow.
for the life of the lease. It's a 3-year lease.
So, wow.
Yeah.
So no cost for refueling.
No
So
cost.
Even with the SMUD discount and the low cost of energy, you've got that beat.
Right.
Zero cost.
Right. Yeah.
And I assume that's to get people, incentive to get people
Correct.
into hydrogen. vehicles.
Absolutely. Yes.
What a deal.
Yeah,
No
it is a
cost.
great deal. Zero
So
cost.
You're cleaning up the environment, and you don't have the cost of maintenance, let alone the cost of fueling,
Right.
and you've got a car that's fun to drive.
It is.
That's
It's fun to
good for the
drive. It's a pretty sharp-looking car, as are other models, and it's a joy.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you very much. Zero cost for refueling for the first 3 years, at least at this point.
All right.
That's fantastic. All right, thank you very
All right,
much.
thanks, Keith.
Thank you very much, David. So, back to John with SMUD and Jean.
Hey, so we're back. So very interesting show. Learned a lot of good information from the folks that own the vehicle. But we had some questions from our viewers. So I'm
Okay.
going to see if you can answer these or
Well,
stump you guys.
Any of the hard ones, I'm going to give to John.
Okay, we have first from John. How much can we get back for a cross-track hybrid? Are the tax credits going away?
The federal tax credit is not going to go away, as far as I know. Of course, this is something that's enacted by the federal Congress, but you can. I would just, as a blanket answer to where you can find a lot of information, is smud.org/drive electric. smud.org/drive electric. There are links there to other places. You can also just Google the federal EV tax credit. It'll take you to an IRS page. That would give you the more specific information on the Crosstrek, which is a Subaru. It's a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. I'm not sure the exact amount. The range, as I recall, seems to be somewhere, and don't quote me on this exactly, but
quoting you.
I think it's somewhere around $3,500 up to the $7,500 range. But again, it's dependent on the battery. Have a look at that IRS website. That should be able to tell you. And also smud.org has links to that as well.
Okay, did you hear that? Go to the IRS website and get the accurate, right information, right?
Perfect.
I like the way he's thinking, though. Upgrading to EVs.
Yeah, okay. So a next question from John. John, what is California's tax break, or federal? Where can we go to get information, on a website or email?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the same answer.
Okay.
You can find it at the IRS website, smud.org/drive electric.
Okay, so you heard it. Go to the website, get the right information. So a question from Joanne. I am concerned about the risk of fire from Tesla being charged in the garage. There was a recent incident in San Ramon.
I'm afraid I'm just not much of an expert on it. I don't know what that risk is. You know, I mean, it's a lithium ion battery that's in the vehicle. I mean, that is a thing.
Yeah.
But I just don't know really what the implications are, how common it is, or how. I mean, obviously, gasoline in a car is also very flammable. So I guess I'm not really qualified to give a good answer.
But you could,
on
you know, like any electric vehicle, you have to charge in the garage, and so safety, making sure your plug-in, everything is up to code, and so it's just, you can do more research on the internet, right, to find that information?
And, you know, we have to remember, this is emerging technology. It's growing by leaps and bounds every year. And so there, unfortunately, are bound to be some issues sometimes. I would just say, believe me, manufacturers are going to be working through those, because the last thing they want is anything negative to happen to their vehicles. So it's emerging technology.
With any technology, that's the case. I can say this, that electric vehicles are safe. They're not prone to fire, but it does happen. I've been driving one myself for 4 years, charge it in the garage, never have a problem. I drive a Nissan Leaf myself.
But it's also up to the consumer to be careful too.
Absolutely.
It is. Good thing to be doing some research on.
Okay, so another question from John. John, we understand sometimes the car batteries go out and then it is an arm and a leg to buy a new battery. Is that true?
It's not cheap. I don't know exactly how much it is, to be honest with you. I've done some research on it and I had a hard time finding information. I think you'd have to call a dealer. I would say that you're probably looking in the range of several $1,000s to replace the battery. However, batteries are warranted, all batteries, by law for I want to say 10 years or 100,000 miles. It might be 8 years or 100,000 miles. It has changed a little bit somewhat in the past few years. But they're warranted against failure, not against, they do degrade over time. Same as a gasoline engine would degrade over time in terms of the mileage that you get. But the warranty gives you a lot of confidence or safety.
Get the warranty.
Get the warranty.
Get the
extended warranty.
It's required. The battery warranty is required,
Yes.
so that comes free. So there's no cost to that. So if it prematurely goes out, however, yes, they do degrade over time, and you have to replace them at some point. And it can vary across how big the battery is, what model of vehicle you have, etc. You can call a dealership, and they should be able to give you that information.
Okay. Let's see, a question from Bill Ing. What is the best app to locate public charging for Nissan Leaf? And that was when Titus was showing off his car.
Yeah, there's a couple of great ones. ChargeWay. Just go onto your app store and look up ChargeWay. PlugShare is another excellent one. There are several others. And regardless of the make or model of your car, it would be the same. You know, it's going to show you where all the public charging stations are. It'll also show you where Tesla stations are. So Tesla has kind of a built-in system for their own charging network.
So download that app.
ChargeWay, PlugShare, both great apps. You can also put them on your desktop or your laptop computer.
Okay, great information. So a question from Aubrey Fong. Does it cost more or less to insure EVs?
Yeah, that's going to depend on the make and model. In my experience, personally, it was less. I bought a brand new Nissan Leaf 2017, and I had probably a 20-year-old minivan. And when I went to insure it, I'm thinking, okay, here goes my insurance bill. It went up $50 per 6 months for a brand new car versus a 20-year-old vehicle. I can't say what it would be overall, but I have heard people say that it's costs less to insure their electric vehicle than a conventional gas vehicle. I'm not sure exactly what all goes into that, but
it's best to check with your insurance agent.
Good idea to check with your insurance agent.
Okay, so another question. Where do Tesla owners service their vehicle?
That's a good one. And my understanding is that they have mobile units that come right out to your house to fix your car. I think there are some shops, private shops that, not Tesla shops, that specialize in Tesla repairs, but Tesla themselves, they come right out to your house.
Yeah, so Dave Lin, and we asked him that question. He said, yeah, he's nodded his head. They come to your house.
When they need servicing.
Have they come to your house already?
Yes, they have.
Oh, okay. Did you like the service?
Great. Open my garage door and they did the work in my garage.
Cool.
Wow.
Okay.
That's good news. Good to know. Yes, another savings right there.
That's
you know?
right. You don't have to worry about a ride home to your car. Because my car's in the shop and my husband had to pick me up. I'm getting my car battery replaced. So a question from Craig Y. Are prices negotiable like gas vehicles are? Or in other words, do the dealers have the upper hand?
It's like buying any car. I mean, you go on to, for the most part, you go into a car lot and you buy a car just like you would anything with any other vehicle. Tesla, they have the showroom. I'm not sure exactly how their model goes as far as negotiations and things like that. But yeah, there's no difference here at all. What a great research tool for EVs. Again, going back to smud.org/drive electric. Go down a little bit and it says, there's a little icon that says try PlugStar. Go on that. This is a PlugStar shopping assistant. It's very comprehensive. It has every single electric vehicle in there, every different variation of like trim packages and things. You can compare the vehicles there. You can see what the ranges are, what questions about charging. And by the way, too, a great section, an incentive calculator up in the upper right-hand corner. Click on incentives, and you can check what incentives are available on a specific model or just what's available in my area. And you can find out all of them, and it'll tell you here's the total possible that you could have in terms of incentives in your area.
So kind of lots of financial incentives from the state, from federal government, and then even from perhaps the dealers.
Absolutely, yeah. And dealers run specials on these too. So
you got to be your consumer eye out, right? Looking.
Yeah, they say that the average car buyer spends somewhere between 12 and 14 hours of doing research on the internet before they ever walk onto a car lot. So good idea to do some. It's just so much at your fingertips.
Okay.
That PlugStar tool is a great one.
So here's a question from Ruby. She says, how much does it cost to fill up with hydrogen? And I think Secretary Kim answered that question.
Yeah, sounds like nothing.
It's free.
Is that across all? Is that across all hydrogen vehicles, or is it kind of just a?
There are
Hyundai
3
thing.
fuel cell vehicles available now. In addition to Hyundai Nexo, there's the Toyota Mirai and Honda Clarity, and I believe Honda and Toyota also give their customers a prepaid debit card, so you pay zero. Now, I will tell you, when I fill this up at a station, of course, like any gas station, the price tag shows up. It's about $80 to fill up completely, if you had to pay out of pocket, but there is no out-of-pocket cost.
At this point, it's free.
Right.
That's a good thing.
Right.
Excellent.
Well, that's a good incentive.
It is. It is.
Saves on your pocketbook, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I like that cost.
So another question, are EV batteries recyclable?
They are recyclable, yes. They're, I want to say, very recyclable. However, the recycling industry, the car EV battery recycling industry, is growing like the rest of the industry is too. So there's a ways to go. Many of the components are very recyclable. They should not end up in landfills, but that is advancing as well. And battery technology is also advancing. So there's something on the horizon to be commercially available for EVs called solid state battery technology, which I'm not an expert there, but I've read some articles on it that they're smaller, they're lighter, they're safer, they are more energy dense, so they hold more energy, and more recyclable, more easily recyclable.
One last question. And so is there a fee for disposal? Do you know?
Of the batteries?
Yeah.
I think if you go to a dealership, that's all going to be included in the cost of replacing the batteries.
Okay.
It's a lot different than a regular car battery. You know, this is
Yeah.
a battery that is often quite large.
The good news is, you know, the electric motors are much hardier. I think probably it used to be that people would replace their gasoline engine from time to time, rebuild it. You don't hear about that so much, but the battery is the component that would need to be replaced much more than the electric motor would be.
Okay, so great questions from the viewers. I think we answered them all. Any last words you want to wrap up, Keith?
You know, we're looking at the future, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to show a wide selection of EVs. There's many more out there and more to come, and also to learn from people who actually have hands-on driving experience owning these vehicles. So I appreciate ACC for doing this.
Well, thank you, Keith, for joining us. And any last words, John?
Oh, just thank you again, ACC, for giving us a forum to talk about electric vehicles and to get the word out.
Well, you know, as John said, go to the SMUD webpage, learn a lot more. I'm going to make a plug for that. SMUD's been a great partner for ACC, and thank you for taking the time to come and share your knowledge and take us on this tour. We've learned a lot, and so thank you, Secretary Kim, for joining us. We had Titus here, we had Jeri, we had, let's see, who else, am I missing anybody? Dave Lin, come on in. A great show. You know, these are some of our ACC employees, and Titus is the finance chair, and so they were generous enough to come out today and share their vehicles, and they're excited about. I learned a lot. So, is anybody go out and research and go buy an electric car? Kinda. Raise their hand. Raise their hand. And the audience raise their hand. CEO Derek Lims raised his hand. We were talking. He said him and his wife are going to look at that. So, you know, thank you for sharing all of this. We thank you for your time, but. Also, I want to make a plug for ACC. You know, we put on these programs, and Jeri's over that with the man behind the camera, Ted Fong, and we need your support to put on these programs. We have cooking shows, we have exercise, Tai Chi, yoga, a Zumba online. I do the exercise ones. I do the, you know, I try to do that. And so we need your support. And if you want to be a sponsor, let us know. Contact Jeri, call ACC. She'll take your call, or email at classes@accsv.org, or give us a call. We need your support, and be a sponsor. We'll promote you for these shows, and you can come behind the scenes and take a tour. And so thank you for that, and you know, contact Jeri. She does a great job. But coming up next, tomorrow, we have a cooking demo with one of our favorite chefs, bringing him back, Koichi Mizushima. He's going to do beginning sushi making for beginners. So I know how to make sushi, but I'm going to pick up some tips from Koichi because he's great at this, and he's great at entertaining. And later on this month, on Wednesday, we have understanding required minute distributions. So if you're going to retire, you need to start putting some money away. You're going to learn about that from financial planner Mark Pratt. And then later in the evening, we have a concert bringing back Maylee Tom and Tony Waterford. The duo is going to come back and sing a lot of the songs that we all know and love, dynamic duo. Then on Monday, September 27th, we have the third in a series of ACC's History Project, the story of the Asian Community Services. So you're going to learn more about ACC's history. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for the audience for joining us, and we appreciate everything. So have a good day and join us next time.